Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Sports Talk in the Burgh. I'm your host this afternoon, Jared Jermasic, and today is going to be filled with a lot of great discussions. To the man to the right of me, your normal host, Brett McGulick. Welcome, Brett. And to the man to the left of me, the fan of the sorriest team in the NBA, but a great sports analysis, Caden Hyde. How's your Bucks doing this season so far, Brett?
Not great. Not great. I will say that. There's still a lot of season left to go, but things aren't looking good so far.
That's, yeah. So,
unfortunate.
Let's get into it, boys. Past week of games in the NFL had a lot of close games, with half of them being one-score games. However, one of the games that wasn't a one-score game was the highly anticipated matchup between the two heavyweights in the AFC, with the 8-2 Buffalo Bills and the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills would outlast the Chiefs, handing the Chiefs their first loss of the season in a 30-21 win. In previous years, the Chiefs have got the best of the Bills in the playoffs, but with this win this season, does this make the Bills the best team in the AFC? Caden, let's start with you.
You see, the numbers say yes. Like, by far, the Bills have the number 3 offense and number 9 defense scoring-wise. They're only behind Detroit in point differential. Josh Allen is pretty much well on his way to earning his first MVP. I mean, about 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 picks, although all those 5 interceptions have been in the last 3 games. I was worried about them losing players like Stephon Diggs, Tre'Davious White, and their safeties, but Khalil Shakir is on pace for 1,000 yards. The receiving touchdowns have been spread around the entire team. Mac Hollins is leading the team with 3 touchdowns. He's their backup wide receiver. The defense is still holding up. They have the highest turnover differential in the league at plus 14. Their weakest point is their pass rush, and they're still number 12 in the league, which is in the top half. Although it does worry me that Von Miller, the guy they're paying almost $30 million a year, is washed. But another thing that worries about me, and the one reason I don't see this Bills team at least making it to the Super Bowl, is the precedent. I mean, they have beaten Kansas City in the regular season before, but things just don't go their way in the playoffs. And part of that is because there are close games against the Chiefs. And this year especially, including last year where they had a second wide right, which is horrible for Bills fans, Tyler Bass has not been up to his normal par this year.
I mean, you make very valid points here, but I mean, if you beat the team to beat, how are you not the team to beat? I mean, you mentioned the Tyler Bass thing, but the Bills, Josh Allen and the Bills are putting up the numbers on offense. And in 8 of their 11 games, they put up at least 30 or more points, and they won all those games.
But I mean, offense isn't everything. You've seen what happened to Miami in the last couple of years. They had great offense regular season. They lay an egg in the playoffs. You have to be good at the nitty-gritty stuff, and that's something that the Chiefs are great at this year.
Yeah, but they're capitalizing. Their biggest thing is they're capitalizing on other team mistakes. I really see this team.
Are they not supposed to?
This Chiefs team going like the 2020 Steelers path.
Okay.
Because I think they're finally getting
now you were saying like a team in the past. Who do you trust more this season, the Chiefs or the Bills?
Chiefs.
I mean, it's
not a question. The team with 3 Super
in the
Bowls
in the playoffs when it comes down to say a one drive possession in the fourth quarter of say the AFC Championship, who would you trust more, the Chiefs or the Bills?
The Chiefs.
Yeah, the old Chiefs. I don't know. This Chiefs team looks different to me, guys. I just think I feel more confident about the Bills going into this season right now. I just think they've been putting up better numbers, and the Chiefs games are way too close to call. 7 out of their 9 games have been 1 possession or less, like 2 or 3 points. And they've only scored 30 points once this season. I just think once they face a good team, once they face a really good team like they did the Bills, I think it could be the end for them.
Okay, it's a very fair statement. So now let's shift over to a team in the NFC that had the second best odds to win the Super Bowl, but are now last in the NFC West with 11 weeks into the NFL. Last week, the 49ers were handed their 5th loss of the season to the Seattle Seahawks, which now bumps their record down to 5-5, with their playoff hopes slipping away this season. With the hangover from last year still showing up for the Niners this season, what is gumming up for the 49ers this season? Brett?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer here is the injuries. Hufanga, Hargrave, Brandon Ayuk, Dre Greenlaw, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa. I could ramble on for days. They've all missed a significant amount of time this season. That's been the 49ers thing for multiple years. They either make it to the Super Bowl or lose because they don't have any players left. Brock Purdy right now is considered day-to-day, and Nick Bosa has an oblique. He's being evaluated as we speak. So like, it's just, you can't really build a good team and try to make a run if you just don't have much certainty. But the one thing I really want to touch on here, obviously that's the obvious answer, but another thing that I don't think is getting enough credit is that the NFC has really stepped it up this year. Like the Lions somehow got better than they were last year. They're 9-1, and the NFC North alone is taking up 3 different playoff spots. If you look at the graphic right here, this looks a different team. Like I said with the Chiefs thing, like the opponent's points per game is up, the point differential is down by a lot, and it's just not working right now for the Niners. And I really do think that that's how the AFC is playing this year. It's just a different look than it was the past few years.
I mean, like the Niners, they're 5-5 right now, as you can see on the graphic. They're 5-5 with a plus 28 point differential, which means when they're winning big, but when they're losing close. And I have a feeling a lot of that has to do with Jake Moody, their kicker. They drafted in the 3rd round last year, who's been probably a negative asset in the clutch for them this year.
Right.
He's 17 for 21 over field goals in the games this year, and in the 2 games where he's missed the majority of his field goals, he missed 3 in a 3-point loss to a division rival LA Rams, and he lost 1 in the closing seconds of a game against Tampa Bay, which they lost 23-20. If they had a kicker who could actually make his field goals in the clutch and do something, this team would easily be at least 7-3. With all the injuries, and including all the injuries, they're still top 10 in offense and defense yard-wise. Their defensive scoring has been down, but they have missed so many players in that 2nd and 3rd level. But the coaching is there. The performance is there. The execution in the final moments, especially on special teams, has not. And that's what's going to keep them home this February and January.
Especially, like I was saying earlier, against a really good an NFC team. I think it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for the 49ers here coming up.
See, so you brought up the kicker, you brought up the injuries. I just think that some of the magic that Brock Purdy had his first year, like the end of that first season he was with them, I think that magic's starting to fade away. Obviously, he doesn't have the weapons, like all the weapons that he did that season.
Right.
But I think we're seeing the quarterback that some people believe that Brock Purdy would be and why he was the last pick in the NFL draft. So I don't really know. They haven't been able to finish games. Obviously, we saw the stats. Everything's down from last year. I mean, what's your final take on this?
I mean, I got to play devil's advocate here a little bit. I will say, with all these injuries, they still have been performing very well. Like I said, they're top 10 in yards for offense and defense. Their defensive scoring is what's not been there, going down 8 points from last year. It's just, shout out to Kyle Shanahan and the rest of the 49ers staff for being able to pull this team together despite all these injuries. I just don't see this happening in the mid to late January.
So let's hope for this Niners team to improve on the rest of the season. So with the last question of this segment, it's about something that, even though some say they don't think about a lot, we all know deep down they want this award. That award is the MVP. The most valuable player race seems to be tightening up as the season is winding down. Should Josh Allen be the MVP for being the quarterback of the team who took down the undefeated team? Should a loss to the Steelers and a subpar performance take Lamar Jackson out of the race? And should Jared Goff still be considered after his 5-interception game? Caden, who is your MVP if the award was supposed to be given out today?
I have been a fan of this man ever since he got drafted. He's 6'4", 217 pounds. From Cal, he looks like Ryan Gosling, and he's good enough for Detroit. I have Jared Goff as the NFL MVP, and particularly this year, I don't think it's it's as much of a runaway as it has been in past years. I mean, it'll be a tight race, that's for sure, against Josh Allen, because Josh Allen, he reminds me of the Joel Embiid of the NBA. He hasn't done very much in the playoffs, and this year might be his give me MVP, just because he's come second place so much, he's lost it so much. Why not just give him one? I think Jared Goff deserves to be the MVP of this team. He's the best quarterback on the best team, which unfortunately has always played into to players. He's lethally efficient, a great passer rating, and he leads the league in yards per attempt. He's no doubt the MVP in
Now, before I get into Brett's, I'm just going to say I think Josh Allen, he has an 18-5 turnover to interception rating, and obviously I believe leading the best team in the NFL. But Brett, let's hear about your pick. That's a very unusual pick to have a kicker be the MVP this season.
Do you guys know what this show is called? The show is called Sports Talk in the Burgh, right? We sit here talk about sports in the Burgh. And you know who's leading this Burgh team right now? Maybe the greatest kicker in the history of the world. This is Chris Boswell. Call me a delusional Steelers fan. I don't care. This man is leading the Steelers in points this season just with his toe with 107. He's also leading any other kicker in points this season. He's number 1 in points with 107. 100% on extra points. 29 for 30 this season on field goals. 6 field goals made twice this season. He holds the record for most 6-goal field games. 2 2 this season and 1 in 2017. And he also, 57 for his long kick obviously isn't great. He doesn't have much of the leg he used to, but his accuracy is there. The only field goal he missed was a 50-yarder, and he missed it once. He is 9 for 10 in 50-yarders this season. Everything else has been perfect.
I'm not gonna cut you off here. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would take the 20th ranked quarterback over the best kicker in the league for my team.
Hey, I'm just saying, Boswell came in clutch for this team. You want to know how
Coming
clutch
in
he's
clutch
been?
doesn't mean anything.
Hold on. There has been a lyric named after this man in the greatest song in the history of sports, the Here We Go song. It goes, as I quote, if we don't get in the end zone, we'll get 3 points off Boswell's toe. This has been happening for years now, I will stand by this.
I think a team would rather prefer 6 than 3, if we're being quite honest with you guys.
But the clutch comes in sometimes.
Okay.
All right, I'm done.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Caden and Brett, for your insight today on the NFL. When we come back, we have a very special guest with us along, a Pittsburgh sports expert to talk about the AFC North leaders and a little bit of hockey this season. See you when we come back.
Bring it.
Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home. Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride?
Sure. Yeah. All right. How about some one-on-one?
I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. If you wanted to hear more NFL debates with a little bit of hockey, you came to the right place. To the right, to the left of me, a man who tends to disagree with me, no matter what sport it is. Casey Irwine, welcome. And to the right of me, Baltimore Raven extravagant, Mr. Michael Deemer. Welcome back to the table after a long absence.
Thank you, Joey. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be here? All right, nice. That's good to hear. On Sunday, we saw the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers clash for the top seed in the AFC North. It was filled with a lot of tension and not a lot of touchdowns, which is what you get when the Steelers are in a football game. The Pittsburgh Steelers took down the Ravens 18-16 in a game where the Steelers didn't score a touchdown. Chris Boswell went 6 for 6 on field goals, and the Steelers defense stepped up and held the Ravens, who scored 31 points a game, to 16 points this past Sunday. Was this a showing of Steelers magic, or did the Baltimore Ravens underperform against the Steelers once again? Deemer?
Watching the game, man, as a Ravens fan, looking at it as a fan, it was a huge disappointment to see the Ravens just stab themselves in the foot. I think they lost. I think they were the ones that like really kicked themselves while they were down themselves. Tucker missed 2 field goals. Obviously, we know how Tucker is. First time he's done that in about 2 years. And penalties really just shot themselves in the foot. I believe I saw a stat where the penalty yardage is actually more than the receiving yards for their wide receiver 1, which was really saying a lot. But and Lamar just I don't know
Got
what it
locked
is
up
about,
again, right? That's how you're going to finish the sentence, right? Got locked up again by the Steelers? You were going to finish Lamar got
I
locked
was
up
just going
again
to say
by the Steelers.
that he played in his worst game, and yet they still only lost by 2 on a 2-point conversion. So
let's
that's
look
my
at it
only
this way.
thing.
First off, I don't really like the framing of this question because it implies that no matter how this outcome came out, it's Steelers magic or Ravens failure. That means the Steelers didn't earn it. Okay,
Yep,
let me
they
tell you,
didn't.
they earned this game. Okay, as they have earned a lot of games this year. First, no one else in the league this season has been able to do what they did against Lamar. What they do against Lamar every year because they
Play
have
any
him.
other team, and then they would
They
lose.
have him figured out like no team in the NFL does. Okay, Lamar has been absolutely terrible against Steelers, and there's a reason why for that because Mike Tomlin knows exactly how to play him. And it's if it's Lamar Jackson, he comes back in these different games against other teams, even if he has bad games, he'll still do good against them in another game. Steelers, he's never good against them, and that's because they always know how to deal with him. Okay, and the Steelers, they couldn't find the end zone, but they were close a few times, and Boswell, they can kick it through. And the Steelers, they're still trying to get this offense together. Mike Williams didn't even have a target last time, so he's going to emerge more as a player there. But even still, with only George Pickens as the main target, he was absolutely cooking the defense, okay? And all your receivers got locked down. Derrick Henry, okay, who has been so good the whole season. Yep. He still scored a touchdown, but first drive it's a fumble for Derrick Henry.
That goes to my point, though, as Derrick Henry fumbled, Lamar had an interception that shouldn't have been an interception. Tucker missed 2 field goals. I think the Ravens really were the reason why they lost the game. If Tucker kicked those 2 field goals like he should have, then the Ravens would have won the game. It's entirely
Derrick
different
Henry just dropped the ball. No, it was a fantastic strip by the Steelers. Patrick Queen comes back in his old team. The team who threw him out to the trash has a forced fumble and recovers it himself. Unbelievable play. And then, on Peyton Wilson had an unbelievable interception himself. So the Steelers, this was not their magic. This was them earning this win, and the Steelers beat the Ravens down once again.
All right. Well, as we just mentioned, the Steelers defeated the Ravens to take full control of the AFC North. To this point, they have an 8-2 record with 5 of their last 7 games being teams in the AFC North, and the other 2 being games against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. Will the Steelers remain on top of the AFC North rankings, or will they slide and let the Ravens take control of the top spot? Casey, what do you think?
Well, let's look at it from an objective standpoint here. The Steelers right now have a 2-game lead in the division. And you look at it, okay, the Steelers' most wins in the NFL against opponents with a winning record at 5, okay? They have some great wins. A lot of people are acting like the Steelers don't have great wins, but they do. They have fantastic, Falcons, Denver, Chargers, Commanders, Ravens, all of them, big time.
The Ravens also beat the Broncos and the Commanders. Also, for the Broncos game, Lamar had 5 touchdowns. You guys barely, or the Steelers.
How many touchdowns did he have against the Steelers?
1. He had one touchdown, and the Steelers had 0. So,
and we'll score that game. Here's the thing with the Steelers, okay? They can win. This season, they have won so many different ways, and it's something they have not done in a very long time. Even back when you had prime Big Ben, A.B. Bell, okay, those games were a lot of just shootout games, and that was a reason why they didn't end up winning a Super Bowl with that team, because that wasn't as consistent, okay? The Steelers have a consistent way of winning now every which way, and I think that can really, especially in the playoffs where you never know what's going to happen, I think that can lead them to the top of, not even just the AFC North, but the top of the AFC. I think it's they have a lot of good stuff ahead of them. People act like they don't have good wins, and it is a tough schedule in the season. But consistently, even when the Steelers are not good, Kenny Pickett as quarterback last year, they still do very well against the AFC North.
Yeah, and it's going on to that what you said about the AFC North. I mean, Tomlin's going to get they're going to get the 500. They're looking at obviously way above that, just the 500 mark. But also they do have a favorable schedule. They have 2 games against the Browns and Bengals that I don't think they're really any good this season. And then obviously we have one more game against the Ravens for the Steelers to take on. I think that's going to be a very good game to kind of see a rematch of the game that we just had Sunday. And then the Eagles and Chiefs. I think they have a favorable enough schedule to where I don't think the Steelers are going to let that go, that lead go right now. But I don't know. Deemer, anything else you want to say on this?
So when it comes to common opponents, like you said, the Eagles and Chiefs, the Ravens already played the Chiefs in Week 1, and that was week. Right, but also it was a 2-point conversion loss similar to the Steelers game.
And they lost.
Can I get to my point, please? And then on Christmas Day, they'll play against the Kansas City Chiefs, also in Kansas City. Do you really think the Chiefs are going to have, or do you think the Steelers are going to have that much of a fight against the Chiefs?
Yes, it's as Brett talked about in a little bit earlier. It's a much different Chiefs team this year. I think the offense has not been nearly as good, and when you have this Steelers defense against an offense that has been in a recession, it's gonna be pound.
If they don't have any offense, then good luck on Christmas Day. That's all I'm going to say.
So let's move away from the NFL. But one thing I want to say, when you think of hockey, there are definitely a few names that come to mind. Two of them are currently active and are legends of the sport. Sidney Crosby, Pittsburgh's hockey hero, leading the team to 3 Stanley Cups, and Alex Ovechkin, who is creeping up on Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal-scoring title with his 27 goals away from the record. These two have legendary careers, but if you were to choose which one do you want on your team, Sidney Crosby or Alex Ovechkin? Deemer?
Now, I've had my bias glasses on. I'll take them off and then put some realism glasses on. And I'm going to probably give it to Sidney Crosby. Obviously, goals are probably, in my opinion, the second best thing to do in hockey. But I think the first is winning a Stanley Cup. Crosby has 3. Ovechkin has 1. So that's obviously Crosby has more points too. So I'll give the edge to Crosby. As you can see on the graphic, both of them have won Stanley Cups. Crosby has tripled the amount. Points. The only thing that's really ahead of Ovechkin is the goals, and then 3 MVPs and a lot of Rocket Richards. But I'll give the edge to Crosby being in Pittsburgh and having these realism glasses on.
I appreciate that, Deemer. And here's the thing about Alex Ovechkin. Okay, especially in his earlier days, incredibly fun player to watch. But if you have this big guy, say Connor McDavid gets in the gym a little bit more, if he sits at the top of the point and just rips slap shot for slap shot, he's going to break that record too, okay? Alex Ovechkin is kind of a bit of a product of how he plays, and that's fair game to him, but as overall better player in the career, it just has to be Sidney Crosby for sure. Even if you look at if you had to go head to head, Crosby, a better record against Ovi, even in the playoffs as well. Regular season playoffs, Crosby has a better record. If Crosby wasn't targeted so much by other players, especially the Rangers, and had those concussion issues, we're talking about he's in top 5 discussions easily, maybe top 3 discussions, okay? He's up there, around Yager discussions, Crosby. So he's fantastic. Ovechkin does have that MVP edge, but I just think overall still as the better player, as a better career, it just has to be Sidney Crosby. Ovechkin, is just kind of a product of his play style.
Anything else you want to add about this, Deemer?
Yeah, they're both really good players. I feel like it's comparing apples to oranges a little bit also when Ovechkin's the goal scorer and Crosby's more of a playmaker. But just watching the two of them, I don't really think it's a fair question to really say. But when it comes to that rivalry, I guess we have to kind of make this discussion, right? They've been doing it ever since they've been drafted. Yeah. So it's just they're just 2 really good players. And right now, I just want to say before we get to break, Capitals are first in the division. Penguins are last. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Casey and Deemer, for giving great insight about football and some hockey. When we come back, I hope you're in the Thanksgiving spirit and are hungry, because you won't want to miss Casey Irwin's top 5 Thanksgiving foods right here on Sports Talk in the Burgh.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We have this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all, if I could go back, I would. But I can't.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out.
Good night. And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Worried about your friend, but don't know how to reach out?
You could say how are you or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR. It's so good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back. I'm sure every year you have been in a debate about what the best Thanksgiving food is. Well, my friend Casey is here to give his top 5 Thanksgiving food. Casey, take it away.
All right, folks. As the resident eater of sports talk in the Burgh, I'm here to get you ready for the most gluttonous time of the year. And we're just going to get right into this, okay? We're going to go straight into number 5, and it's a perfect pick. The guy who can keep the team together. He's not a flashy player, but he makes plays when you need and meshes well with everyone, and that is the roll. Get some butter on that thing, and some nice warm rolls will put on a great show. You can eat them alone. You can dip them. You can fill them. And, you know, if you get mad at a family member for talking about politics and the election at dinner, they're perfect to throw at them, okay? If you get them homemade, then absolutely elite stuff, but you can just grab some Mancini's maybe from the store. You are really in business. So the rolls, top it at number 5. Let's go to number 4. We're diving into the dessert category with this one. And of course, it has to be the classic pumpkin pie. This guy's been around for ages, and he always gets the job done. It is an oh-so-perfect way to end your Thanksgiving meal. But of course, you also have to pair it with about a pound of whipped cream. With how much whipped cream is on my slice, I've got a nice beard from eating it that you think I'm about to say ho, ho, ho. The pumpkin pie, it's a sweet dish with perfect amount of fall flavor and a texture you can't get in other pies. So this guy at 4 will fill your sweet tooth and be perfect as you drift off to sleep. Now on to number 3. We have to go with a guy who's the most compatible player and very compatible with the roll, and it's something creamy, salty, peppery, buttery, and goes with everything on the plate, as I just said, and that title belongs to the mashed potato. Something your family always has way too much of, but when made right, you are so glad there are leftovers for days. A perfect mashed potato can be eaten on its own, but pair it with some of that oh-so-good gravy, and you're going to be taking a gravy train to food paradise. And once you have that mashed potato with the gravy, you put it on the roll, and life finally seems like it has meaning. So there's my number 3, and Pap, I'm looking forward to whichever random old woman gives you our mashed potatoes this year. Now number 2. May have some controversy, but it's a personal favorite of mine. As long as it's made right, and by that I mean fresh product, bacon, cream of mushroom, crispy onions, proper seasoning, and all cooked to perfection, then the green bean casserole will be my number 2 every time. My mother makes it every year, and it is absolutely joyous. My Thanksgiving is personally not complete without green bean casserole. It's nice and savory. It has a perfect bite from the green bean and a crunch from the crispy onions. It is awesome. And of course, what food is bad that has bacon in it? This guy doesn't make a lot of people's list, but he's the Anthony Davis of my team. Now, don't reveal number 1 just yet. I got a little story to tell. We're going to move on to number 1, LeBron. You just have to imagine this scenario. You've had your Thanksgiving meal, and you're nice and full, and it's about 4:30 p.m. You sit on a recliner as a football game plays on TV. You are truly at peace as you drift off into a wonderful slumber. A couple hours later, you groggily wake up. The Giants are beating the Cowboys 13-9, a perfect Thanksgiving game. It's dark out, everyone's left. You think to yourself, damn, I'm kind of hungry again. Luckily for you, the greatest solution is available. You go over to that kitchen, you grab a nice bun, you warm it up, you get some pieces of that turkey, you get the mashed potatoes. You know what? Why don't we put some corn on that thing too? And of course, you got to drizzle some gravy on that John. And what you're left with is the perfect piece to put you at true Thanksgiving enlightenment. And ladies and gentlemen, that is number 1, and that is the turkey sandwich. It is the best part about Thanksgiving and something that truly makes you thankful to be alive. So thanks, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to you all, and good night.
What Cade and I have to say about number 2 is 2 thumbs down. The number 2, that's a horrible pick.
Are we aware of what the green bean casserole does in crunch time? Does it hold up in the leftover game?
It does.
No, it doesn't.
It does. It absolutely.
I do not.
You put it in the microwave.
It is.
No way.
It can't finish. It's not clutch. It's not
it is.
clutch. It cannot
is
finish the
absolutely-
meal.
Mashed potatoes are number one, if anything, and also a sandwich.
Where's
I've
the
never,
cranberry sauce?
I've never seen
Where's
anyone
the
make a
cranberry
turkey.
sauce?
Cannot be a star of the show and be number one. They are great. They can be fantastic. Mashed potatoes are number one can never happen. Never happen. They can never be that standalone guy.
Mashed potatoes just need to have their own place to shine, get away from the crowdedness of everything else.
Mashed potatoes are perfect with a
Give
crowd.
mashed potatoes their own plate, and they will prove to you that they are the best thing
No,
there.
mashed potatoes are, the whole point is that they are with a crowd. They can never be number one. They have to be together.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. Hopefully, whoever celebrates, have a happy Thanksgiving and have a good one. Stay safe out there.